Margaret Kuhlman of Soul Astrology. The new moon this month is in Gemini, 18 degrees Gemini, so the flavour of the month is likely to be about communication. Gemini is movement. You need at least 2 places to move between, which is why Gemini needs at least 2 of everything, and the movement between people and between people and things, people and animals. It's all a communication where there is the giving and receiving. In order for there to be a communication, there has to be an accepting of what is communicated. It doesn't mean an agreeing or an approving, but just an accepting. In accepting something that's being delivered, we are impacted, we are changed. So the movement of Gemini is a constant ebb and flow of changing, development, sharing. In this chart, you can see that Mars has recently moved into Gemini, so the energy that empowers things, that drives things, is very much on the communication level. So all communications are likely to be delivered with a bit more force than normal for the couple of months that it's there. And also Jupiter is just completing in June its last moments of this year that it spends in Gemini. So we're encouraged to communicate, and because it's the end of the sign, there's also a tendency for anything that was left uncommunicated to rise up so that we have an opportunity to communicate it before the move of Jupiter into Cancer, where we are encouraged to explore more our emotions. So this month is about Gemini and communication, but Gemini is ruled by the planet, the energy of Mercury. So it is to do with what we choose to communicate. And Mercury is in Cancer this month, and in this chart right beside Venus. Venus being about relating, where we acknowledge our impact and impactedness in our communication. We acknowledge it, we enjoy it, we attract it. So it's being acknowledged and attracted on the emotional level, the nurturing, caring aspect of Cancer. But particularly, what I'm seeing in this chart is that Mercury, which becomes almost the most important planet there as a ruler of Gemini, is actually part of a grand triangle, a grand trine, being so close to Venus, who's holding the trine, as it were, with Saturn on the one hand and Neptune and Chiron on the other. So, apart from anything else, the communications are likely to be about old woundings and hopefully healing communications, with Mercury's focus on Chiron. And the other side is that beautiful holding pattern of Saturn and Neptune in sweet relationship with each other. Neptune, in its own sign of Pisces, is emphasizing our openness to all emotional experience everywhere. The whole of human emotion is likely to flood through us at the drop of a hat. And at the other side, there's the Saturn in Scorpio, examining the deep emotions on a more personal level, our own deep emotions, our own deep reaction patterns from past experience. So this is personalizing the general, but looking at it carefully, as Saturn does, looking for the truth. And another way of looking at this pair is we have the intuitive side with Neptune and the rational side with the Saturn. So like the 2 sides of the brain, in harmony with each other, and both focusing in on Venus and Mercury, our conscious thinking and the way we relate. It's a beautiful shape, a beautiful blending of energies. This is definitely a month I would want to use, I will be using, for endeavouring to bring the spiritual into practical use. What I've noticed is that, well, with the love of Venus in Cancer, all of those who are learning to love our inner child, no matter what, have a tendency sometimes to go too far and give the inner child more leeway than is valuable for it, for our body, for our health. We listen to the inner child because it needs to be given attention. The attention has been missing in the past. But in balancing up the past, sometimes we ignore what the adult would do regarding our more adult responses to things as being critical and authoritative and strict, as if we want to do away with all of that. In the process, we can miss that the adult has more experience of life than the child and knows what eventually will please the child more. So what we need in this situation is to bring to bear the wise guidance of the adult for the child, bearing in mind health necessities, exercise, the right food, curbing excesses, limiting where we would go into dangerous spheres without proper examination beforehand, bringing caution to bear, not intending it to be fearful. And this month, just to make sure that we have plenty of opportunity to use this beautiful triangle, Uranus is at right angles to Mercury. So what's likely to be happening is that our understanding of things could be skewed. The things in our hands could behave in ways that were really totally unexpected. Situations around us may suddenly change, so that we have to keep adapting. And truly the best way to deal with these sudden reverses or changes or extra pieces or lost pieces is to pause for a moment in the face of the shock of it and then regard it with interest. How does this make me feel? What would be a good way of going about this? To be curious, and most particularly when the child is crying about the spilt milk, to look inwards to our wise guidance, which this month is going to be so well accessible, and see what would be the most appropriate response to the situation. I think with all that strength in Gemini, what we can lean on for support is that sharing our really crazy experiences is going to be a lot of fun. By the time we get to the full moon, the 23rd of June, we see that the Sun has just moved into Cancer, and Jupiter really is at the very last point of the last degree of Gemini. They are part of a beautiful kite shape, and the moon has joined in to be connecting with Pluto. The Saturn and Neptune are still working in beautiful harmony. So I suspect that the second half of this month will feel easier. So let's have some fun with these strange and wonderful opportunities that will be arising in the next couple of weeks. Birdsong and bumblebees and shafts of sunlight. All's right with the world, alive and fresh. Even desert heat shows flower and lizard adapted to thriving with glittering eyes. Fear not that evil can win the day. All is balanced according to need. Even the will of men is shorn of power to obliterate love. There is struggle in life, of survival and pain, vacillating between laughter and tears, between trust and fear, understanding and bewilderment. All is contained in the boundless cup of a flower whose numberless petals eternally unfurl in limitless peacefulness, infinite space. Seek to connect rather than understand, and trust that nothing is lost, that all is held in care.